Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Okay. Test one, two, test. Can you guys hear me okay?
Volvo. Volvo. It's a 3G, 4G phone.
Oh yeah.
It'll work better.
Yeah, but
You don't have the adapter.
I can't break it now.
Oh,
I'm Bluetoothing into my thing, but thanks.
no worries. I usually do a USB-C hardwired.
Does that work on USB-C?
Mm-hmm.
Oh really?
Bear with me.
So do the new cell phones.
Let me get
I
situated.
do have that
This is
phone.
not a scheduled podcast. This is on the fly. None of us knew when this was going to
Flip
start.
phones are a little, they're older, but they don't take as much bandwidth.
Good. Good, good, good. Somebody says they can't hear me on Facebook. Turn on your open the on X the audio. All right, we're gonna obviously what's going on here is it looks like after over 2 hours of President Trump and President Putin meeting behind closed doors, they're gonna hold a press conference. There's been no word of it's only Donald Trump, so it looks like we're going forward with a joint press conference. I've been monitoring this all day long, keeping a close eye on everything. Okay, so as we await, we see something here. Okay, I'm going to end up doing it like that. So right now, I'm going to go back to this, and we'll wait till they go live. All right. All right, I see you guys in the comments. Very good.
No.
Again, this is not a scheduled podcast or anything. This is me just breaking in live to bring you the live coverage in Alaska. after the first official meeting between Vladimir Putin and President Donald J. Trump. I was literally, I said, I'm going to go take a short break. I put my feet up. I'm watching Brett Baer interview Trump. Next thing I know, it's like press conference time. All right. Okay, guys. Yeah, I just posted something while we're waiting here. Um, I just posted something. Yeah, it looks like they're having Secret Service is conducting a routine active threat exercise tonight at the White House
So there's a fight.
from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. Like 5 hours. Uh, Local members of the community will hear simulated gunfire. You'll see increased law enforcement presence in and around the White House complex during the exercise. No road closures will be in effect for this exercise, though select sidewalks near the complex will be closed. All exercises being conducted are routine and are not expected to significantly impact the public. So you've been warned now. So when the lies on social media start, and they will, because they always do,
Very good.
you know, it, don't flood my inbox with what's going on at the White House. It's under attack. No, just there's an exercise tonight. So just at the White House, Secret Service training. It's smart of them to do because since the president's not there. All right. So you're looking at a live poll feed coming out of the Fox News Network in Alaska. We'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna put your for now. I'm gonna put your comments up on the screen. And I'll take those off as soon as the presser gets underway here. Okay. So again, it looks like I was watching Brett Baer live on Fox, and they notified him while he was on the air that they're scrambling the press now. And looks like it's pretty imminent to this press conference. This is going to be good. I'm excited. Yeah, this news here takes precedent over everything. This is pretty well. This is historic. The last time Putin was in the U.S. was at least 10 years ago, I do believe. And the last time that Trump and Putin were together was 2018 in Helsinki during that famous photograph that you always see of Putin passing the soccer ball to President Trump. I'm streaming to Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube right now. Yep. Let me see if I can do. Let's see if I can switch this. There we go. We'll do that. So as we await President Trump here, and Vladimir Putin apparently. I mean, this press conference is going to tell us quite a bit. It's going to give us answers, we hope. And I didn't realize when I was listening to the interview with Brett Baer on Air Force One with President Trump, he said President Trump said that Putin brought. we knew that he brought business people with him, but President Trump said it was like something like 500 business people came with Putin. Um, that's a pretty big number there of people. I don't think they're going to come here to waste time. As we know, Steve Witkoff has been in a lot of negotiations with Russia, going to Russia, and just recently, I may add, Steve Witkoff has been there on more than one occasion. So he's had everything in play. So we'll see what happens here. You've heard all day long. You got to be careful, and you have to make up your own mind what you want to actually believe. Let's say that you were just kind of waking up now, and you were just getting into all this and trying to catch up. Fox News, I did not like their coverage today. Um, well, no, they got good coverage, but I didn't like their talking points, if you will. They kept reviewing going back to 2022 when the war started, and they leave out so much information. It's like, well, we can go back to 2014, and we can go all the way back to the end of the Cold War, and we could talk about NATO pushing up to Russia's doorstep. They left out so many details. Um, and as you saw um, during that Tucker Carlson interview with Vladimir Putin, first hour was all on the history of Russia. And if you remember correctly, Vladimir Putin was so intelligent and so well versed with the history of Russia. And he wanted to make sure during that interview he got that out to the world. And that pretty much carries over with me when it comes to the history and how um, important it is to Russia going forward. So this has a lot to do with it as well. Look, I'm going to say something about Hillary Clinton. All right. Hillary Clinton putting out that video today was not to try and because she's in trouble. That was propaganda. Hillary Clinton putting that out today, saying she'd give Trump the Nobel Peace Prize if uh, if Ukraine didn't give up any land and Russia didn't take any land from Ukraine. Um, what she's doing, all right, she knows that ain't going to happen. What she's doing is getting ready for what's about to happen on your screen. Okay. Um, I don't. Oh, sorry. Hold on. YouTube commercial, and I should probably no. I might switch over. Let me check. Yeah, I'm on that one. I might switch over. It depends. Depends on which network goes first because sometimes they're lagging. But anyways, back to Hillary Clinton. She said that stuff because she knows that's not possible. That Putin definitely wants. He's gonna hold on to Crimea, Donbass, apparently, just to name a couple. And as soon as this meeting was announced, their puppet Zelensky came out on X, put a video up the next day, and said Ukrainians will fight. We're not giving up any land. Hillary said that today, only because she knows that that's not going to happen. So the mainstream media is ready to defend Ukraine when Ukraine's going to say we're not giving up any land. I don't know what's about to happen. All right, but I'm hoping that something significant does happen at least. And I don't know if they're going to release the details. I'd come on the world stage right now. I'd release all the details if I was Donald Trump. I'd say here's A, B, and C, all the conditions. Here's what Russia must do. Here's Ukraine's proposal to Ukraine, and you got to do A, B, and C. If I was Putin, I'd come out there. I'd agree to all of it, and then it's in the hands of Ukraine, which is Zelensky. But Zelensky doesn't make the decisions. We all know it's coming from over in Europe in the deep state, NATO, and they'll look foolish when they say no and they want to continue the war. But that's what Hillary Clinton did today because they're getting ready to defend the actions of Ukraine. It looks like we're getting started. The actions of Ukraine. I'm going to take this off the screen. The actions of Ukraine,
I don't see it.
and because they know they're not going to give up anything. I don't know who they're taking pictures of, but probably, if I had to guess, probably the main players with Trump and his administration. I don't know if maybe it was Steve Witkoff or somebody I didn't see. So we're about to find out. Let's switch this here. There we go. Again, I'll go full screen as soon as this comes on for you, and then we'll listen together, and we'll see what we get out of it. I really enjoyed seeing Vladimir Putin's face today when the Western mainstream media was just like a bunch of vultures.
None of us are skinny enough to crawl under this.
Now he knows what we deal with day in and day out.
That's where the blue cable goes to.
All right. So I have, again, this is the Fox feed. It may not be in sync with your television set at home. This is the Fox feed on YouTube. And plus, when you watch me live, there's probably about a 7 second delay. So I'm always going to be a few seconds behind what you're seeing live on your television at home, for the most part.
Okay, off then.
Okay, as we await. All right, so I'm going to go to some of your comments while we're waiting. Okay, I'm just going to keep them off the sidebar there. Well, the thing with Zelensky there, let me go with, let me change my color. The thing with Zelensky, there we go, we'll go with that, is that, yeah, you're right. He'll lose power because he's still president. His term has passed last year, May, and only due to martial law, wartime, he's still president. So that means the elections are suspended. Now, once this happens, I mean, this is something they probably are discussing as well. You know, they lose Zelensky. I don't know how quick it will go, but I would assume rather quickly. Ukrainians are going to have to hold an election there for a new president. But again, we're getting way too far ahead of ourselves. I'm getting too far ahead of myself because we have to wait until we hear what's about to take place at those two podiums. So, boy, this has been a long time coming. Nope, you haven't missed it. Looks like we're all going to see this together. Hey, you're very welcome, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, things are, since we got a few minutes to kill here, things are going very well with the whole Facebook scenario. I'm actually I'm back on my phone. I have a Facebook app on my phone with my real phone number as a login. That is a miracle. That's been 5 years in the making. So that's a big deal to me because now, usually when I'm on the road, I can only do like my other platforms, X, Telegram, etc. But now I could do Facebook from the road as well because I'd always post. Yeah, I can't post to Facebook, follow my other accounts because I'm not gonna be in the studio. So that's a big deal. That's a good thing. Yeah, and I pretty much knew that once March, April rolled around that things are going to be uh, loosening up over at Facebook, and they have. So all I've done is I created another account. I have another account on Facebook. I don't use it, but it's there. I kind of made it public yesterday. It's been I've had it since July, but and then I tested that with my phone first before I did the page, my main page I'm on, and it worked. So I'm like, okay, and I'm still on there. Normally, in the past when I do that, how it worked was if I uninstalled the app on my phone during the censorship years, I'd reinstall the app. I'd create a brand new Facebook account. I'd use the app. I'd log on and would take just a few minutes, and their algorithms, whatever, would figure out it was me, even with a VPN. I've done every trick in the book, and they take me down. So, which brought me to which I have now my 92nd account. Let's hope I never have to go. None of us have to ever go through that again. Here we go. Okay, who's coming out? Some of the Russian delegation is now coming out. Looks like I'm assuming the left side of the screen will be the Russian delegation, which will be Putin, and on the right side will be the Americans and President Trump. You know what? This is what I'm here for. I'm here for the business part. Sure, we want the killing to stop. Nobody wants war, no matter who's at fault and who's not. We want that to stop. That's the most important thing. We don't need to lose any more lives. But man, I'll tell you, I've been interested in, can we make think about Sum of All Fears. This is at the end of Sum of All Fears. That's why I posted that Nessun Dorma today with the woman singing, because that's when they staged off nuclear war. But even though this technically wasn't nuclear war, it was the deep state going after Russia and pitting Trump against them. Same thing as the movie. Here we go. And at the end, they signed a peace deal together. And it looks like this is that part of the movie. When I say movie, it doesn't mean this is fake. I've expressed a lot about that. I don't believe none of this is fake. It's very real. But you can't have a well-executed plan, and it could be years in the making for it to come to pass. And I think that's what we're witnessing. So, again, what I'm seeing on the screen there are the delegates, if you will. We'll do that. The delegates coming to, they're sitting in the front row. It looks like Rubio. It's hard to tell. This is about to get underway. Looking at, they haven't gone live. They're live on the White House page, on the ex-White House page at least, but they still don't have the screen open. They usually do that just a moment before a president walks out. Surprised. Someone says they're surprised people are allowed to take pictures with their phones. Heck, that place right now is the most secure location on the planet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America and the President of the Russian Federation.
Here we go. History.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, our negotiations have been held in a constructive atmosphere of mutual respect. We had very thorough negotiations that were quite useful. I would like to thank once again my American counterpart for the proposal to travel out here to Alaska. It only makes sense that we've met here, because our countries, though separated by the oceans, are close neighbors. So when we've met, when I came out of the plane and I've said, "Good afternoon, dear neighbor. Very good to see you. In good health and to see you alive." I think that is very neighborly. And I think that's some kind words that we can say to each other. We're separated by the Strait of Bering, though there are 2 islands only between the Russian island and the U.S. island. They're only 4 kilometers apart. We're close neighbors, and it's a fact. It's also important that Alaska has to do with our common heritage, common history between Russia and the U.S., and many positive events have to do with that territory. Still, there is tremendous cultural heritage back from the Russian America. For example, Orthodox churches and a lot of more than 700 geographical names of Russian origin. During the Second World War, it was here in Alaska that was the origin of the legendary air bridge for the supply of military aircraft and other equipment under the Lend-Lease program. It was a dangerous and treacherous route over the vast emptiness of ice. However, the pilots of both countries did everything to bring closer the victory. They risked their lives and they gave it all for the common victory. I was just in the city of Magadan in Russia, and there is a memorial there dedicated to the Russian and the U.S. pilots. And there are 2 flags, the U.S. flag and the Russian flag. And I know that here as well there is such a memorial. There is a military burial place several kilometers away from here. The Soviet pilots that buried there who died during that dangerous mission. We're thankful to the citizens and the government of the U.S. for carefully taking care of their memory. I think that's very worthy and noble. We'll always remember other historical examples when our countries defeated common enemies together in the spirit of battle camaraderie and allyship that supported each other and facilitated each other. I'm sure that this heritage will help us rebuild and foster mutually beneficial and equal ties at this new stage, even during the hardest conditions. It is known that there have been no summits between Russia and the U.S. for 4 years, and that's a long time. This time was very hard for bilateral relations, and let's be frank, they've fallen to the lowest point since the Cold War. I think that's not benefiting our countries and the world as a whole. It is apparent that sooner or later, we had to amend the situation to move on from the confrontation to dialogue. And in this case, a personal meeting between the heads of state has been long overdue, naturally, under the condition of serious and painstaking work. This work has been done in general. Me and President Trump have very good direct contact. We've spoken multiple times. We spoke frankly on the phone. And special envoy of the President, Mr. Witkoff, traveled out to Russia several times. Our advisors and heads of foreign ministries kept in touch all the time. And you know fully well that one of the central issues was the situation around Ukraine. We see the strive of the administration and President Trump personally to help facilitate the resolution of the Ukrainian conflict. And his strive to get to the crux of the matter, to understand its history, is precious. As I've said, the situation in Ukraine has to do with fundamental threats to our security. Moreover, we've always considered the Ukrainian nation, and I've said it multiple times, a brotherly nation, however strange it may sound in these conditions. We have the same roots, and everything that's happening is a tragedy for us, a terrible wound. Therefore, the country is sincerely interested in putting an end to it. At the same time, we're convinced that in order to make the settlement lasting and long-term, we need to eliminate all the primary roots, the primary causes of that conflict, and we've said it multiple times, to consider all legitimate concerns of Russia and to reinstate a just balance of security in Europe and in the world on the whole. And I agree with President Trump, as he has said today, that naturally the security of Ukraine should be ensured as well. Naturally, we are prepared to work on that. I would like to hope that the agreement that we've reached together will help us bring closer that goal and will pave the path towards peace in Ukraine. We expect that Kiev and European capitals will perceive that constructively and that they won't throw a wrench in the works. They will not make any attempts to use some backroom dealings to conduct provocations to torpedo the nascent progress. Incidentally, when the new administration came to power, bilateral trade started to grow. It's still very symbolic. Still, we have a growth of 20%. As I've said, we have a lot of dimensions for joint work.
I'm going to change feeds. Stand by. There's a reason for it.
Investment and business potential. Lease program. It was a dangerous and treacherous route over the vast
Let me know if that's better.
emptiness of ice. However, the pilots of both countries did everything to bring closer the victory. They risked their lives and they gave it all for the common victory. I was just in the city of Magadan in Russia, and there is a memorial there dedicated to the Russian and the U.S. pilots. And there are two flags, the U.S. flag and the Russian flag. And I know that here as well, there is such a memorial. There is a military burial place several kilometers away from here.
Blame that on Fox.
Soviet pilots
That was Fox.
who died during that dangerous mission. We're thankful to the
Sorry.
citizens and the government of the U.S. for carefully taking care of their memory. I think that's very worthy and noble. We'll always remember other historical examples when our countries defeated common enemies together in the spirit of battle camaraderie and allyship that supported each other and facilitated each other. I'm sure that this heritage will help us rebuild and foster mutually beneficial and equal ties at this new stage, even during the hardest conditions. It is known that there have been no summits between Russia and the U.S. for 4 years, and that's a long time. This time was very hard for bilateral relations, and let's be frank, they have fallen to the lowest point since the Cold War. I think that's not benefiting our countries and the world as a whole. It is apparent that sooner or later we had to amend the situation to move on from the confrontation to dialogue. And in this case, a personal meeting between the heads of state has been long overdue. Naturally, under the condition of serious and painstaking work, and this work has been done in general. Me and President Trump have very good direct contact. We've spoken multiple times. We spoke frankly on the phone. And Special Envoy of the President, Mr. Witkoff, traveled out to Russia several times. Our advisors and heads of foreign ministries kept in touch all the time. And you know fully well that one of the central issues was the situation around Ukraine. We see the strive of the administration and President Trump personally to help facilitate the resolution of the Ukrainian conflict. And his strive to get to the crux of the matter, to understand this history, is precious. As I've said, the situation in Ukraine has to do with fundamental threats to our security. Moreover, we've always considered the Ukrainian nation, and I've said it multiple times, a brotherly nation, however strange it may sound in these conditions. We have the same roots, and everything that's happening is a tragedy for us and terrible wound. Therefore, the country is sincerely interested in putting an end to it. At the same time, we're convinced that in order to make the settlement lasting and long-term, we need to eliminate all the primary roots, the primary causes of that conflict. And we've said it multiple times, to consider all legitimate concerns of Russia and to reinstate a just balance of security in Europe and in the world on the whole. And I agree with President Trump, as he has said today, that naturally the security of Ukraine should be ensured as well. Naturally, we are prepared to work on that. I would like to hope that the agreement that we've reached together will help us bring closer that goal and will pave the path towards peace in Ukraine. We expect that Kiev and European capitals will perceive that constructively and that they won't throw a wrench in the works. They will not make any attempts to use some backroom dealings to conduct provocations to torpedo the nascent progress. Incidentally, when the new administration came to power, bilateral trade started to grow. It's still very symbolic. Still, we have a growth of 20%. As I've said, we have a lot of dimensions for joint work. It is clear that the U.S. and Russian investment and business cooperation has tremendous potential. Russia and the U.S. can offer each other so much in trade, digital, high-tech, and in space exploration. We see that Arctic cooperation is also very possible, and our international context, for example, between the Far East of Russia and the West Coast of the U.S. Overall, it's very important for our countries to turn the page, to go back to cooperation. It is symbolic that not far away from here, at the border between Russia and the U.S., there was a so-called international date line. I think you can step over, literally, from yesterday into tomorrow. And I hope that we'll succeed in that, in political sphere. I would like to thank President Trump for our joint work, for the well-wishing and trustworthy tone of our conversation. It's important that both sides are result-oriented, and we see that the President of the U.S. has a very clear idea of what he would like to achieve. He sincerely cares about prosperity of his nation. Still, he understands that Russia has its own national interests. I expect that today's agreements will be the starting point, not only for the solution of the Ukrainian issue, but also will help us bring back business-like and pragmatic relations between Russia and the U.S. And in the end, I would like to add one more thing. I'd like to remind you that in 2022, during the last contact with the previous administration, I tried to convince my previous American colleague that the situation should not be brought to the point of no return when it would come to hostilities. And I said it quite directly back then that it's a big mistake. Today, when President Trump saying that if he was the president back then, there will be no war. And I'm quite sure that it would indeed be so. I can confirm that. I think that overall, me and President Trump have built a very good business-like and trustworthy contact. And I have every reason to believe that moving down this path, we can come, and the sooner the better, to the end of the conflict in Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. That was very profound. And I will say that I believe we had a very productive meeting. There were many, many points that we agreed on, most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway. So there's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them. They're going to have to agree with what Marco and Steve and some of the great people from the Trump administration who've come here, Scott and John Radcliffe, thank you very much. But we have some of our really great leaders. They've been doing a phenomenal job. We also have some tremendous Russian business representatives here, and I think, you know, everybody wants to deal with us. We've become the hottest country anywhere in the world in a very short period of time, and we look forward to that. We look forward to dealing. We're going to try and get this over with. We really made some great progress today. I've always had a fantastic relationship with President Putin, with Vladimir. We had many tough meetings, good meetings. We were interfered with by the Russia hoax. It made it a little bit tougher to deal with, but he understood it. I think he's probably seen things like that during the course of his career. He's seen it all, but we had to put up with the Russia hoax. He knew it was a hoax, and I knew it was a hoax, but what was done was very criminal. But it made it harder for us to deal as a country in terms of the business and all of the things that we'd like to have dealt with. But we'll have a good chance when this is over. So just to put it very quickly, I'm going to start making a few phone calls and tell them what happened. but we had an extremely productive meeting, and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant, but we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there. I would like to thank President Putin and his entire team, whose faces, who I know in many cases, otherwise, other than that, whose faces I get to see all the time in the newspapers. You're almost as famous as the boss, but especially this one right over here. But we had some good meetings over the years, right? Good, productive meetings over the years, and we hope to have that in the future. But let's do the most productive one right now. We're going to stop really 5, 6, 7,000, thousands of people a week from being killed, and President Putin wants to see that as much as I do. So, again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening. Thank you very much, Vladimir. And thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, as they walk off stage. Okay. So, all right. It was short, to the point. I had to take I don't know what I missed, a minute or two. I had to walk away because I was trying to fix the audio, and I had to walk away from where I was at to look at another device to figure out what I was doing, and I was able to fix it. Okay. Yeah, it was I had to fix the broadcast and switch over to another one, so I was probably a little delayed, that's why. But anyways, before I came on, before we went live to Alaska for the briefing, I said Hillary Clinton is full of crap with what she put out in that video. She doesn't mean what she says, because whatever the details are that we just heard about, and I'm going to put these on your screen, whatever the details are that we just heard about, she knows that Zelensky and NATO and the deep state are probably not going to give up any territory. It sounds like that's what's going to have to be done. President Trump just said he's going to make a call to Ukraine, to NATO, and now the ball is going to be in their court. So I would expect, if just going by my own gut feeling and research over the years, that what we could probably expect is to hear from Zelensky. Probably he would be the voice, and he'll post it on X, whether he agrees to whatever is about to be proposed to him. I don't know what that is, but if it's territory, it sounds like he's going to say no. So he'll be the one to continue the war. Again, we shall see what happens, but it looks like we're going in the right direction. Some things were said, the language that was said, I picked up on. I liked how President Putin threw Biden under the bus, and he said it on the world stage just now. Basically, blame Biden, and he was probably right. That administration wasn't stopping that war. They didn't even try once, because when that war started, I broadcasted it live on day one when Russia moved into Ukraine, and ever since day one, I followed it very closely, and I knew about all the way when what's his name, prior to Netanyahu, Bennett was the prime minister, and he was the first one that had an arrangement sit-down meeting with Putin and Zelensky, and they were going to end it early on, and the deep state they nixed it. And I knew ever since then that this whole Biden thing is going to be, they're not going to stop this war. There's no way on earth they're going to stop that war. And they milked it dry as much as they could. So there's a lot at stake here. We'll see what happens. But now we wait. I guess we go back and wait, and we wait to hear from the deep state's little puppet. So, no, they didn't give much details. You just have to read between the lines. And I can understand that. They're not going to give details until he goes back and picks up the phone, which he's going to do now with Ukraine and NATO, and they're going to be against it. But here's the thing. The thing is, Trump holds a lot of the cards. Making all these deals was very smart in the first 5 days away from 7 months, 7 months of this administration, and holding the Trump card, if you will. So, President Trump is a master chess player. So he's in the attack position, and he's pretty much got that queen, and he's getting that king in check right now. So we're getting close. Let's see. Yeah. The bottom line is this, and before I get off the air, I'm gonna check the feeds. The bottom line is this. I would love to see, this is the first step, and this is a big step. Okay. President Trump said it's extremely productive meeting. He said there's a very good chance of getting there. They didn't get there quite yet, but they're close. So that's a good thing. We'll see what happens next. And we don't know. We might hear something tonight as well. I got a spammer in my Facebook comments I just blocked. All right. We might get something happening tonight. Okay. Now here's the other thing. All right. I am not a fear-mongering person whatsoever. I'm a straight shooter. I don't believe in that stuff. But when it comes to certain things that are kind of scary, if you will, I'll call it like it is. Now, I have come on here for some time now on this very podcast, and I've talked about the sum of all fears. And this reaction which is a combination of NATO, the deep state, and Zelensky, all three, and that's pretty much all one, the deep state. Their response to this is a very big deal. They can actually escalate the current ongoing war to the point where it could get pretty darn extreme. And it could lead us down a road of the scare event that I pretty much talked about. That's where we're at right now. So they can either end this thing, stop the war, and come to an agreement to stop the war, or it's going to be escalated. So we shall see what is about to happen. I don't know. I don't have those answers. Now we wait, and we'll see. If it'll be interesting if we get a response tonight at all. Pay attention. Here's the thing. Pay attention to how quick or how long it takes. So it is, just after 7 p.m. here on the East Coast on a Friday night. Let's see how long it takes or how quick it takes to get a response from the Ukrainians in regards to the deal. And again, we don't know those details of the deal because out of respect, they're obviously going to give that to Ukraine first and NATO. And then we're about to find out. We'll find out what those details were. So, all right, guys, that's it. I'm not going to stay on much longer. This is not a scheduled podcast. I just wanted to bring that to you live. I will put out next what podcast will be next. It all depends right now. This is moment by moment, hour by hour, and I'm keeping a very close eye on things. And if I got to break back in at any time with news or something develops that's significant and it develops quickly, I'll be sure to keep you updated. I'll come back on if it warrants it as well. Okay. Other than that, right now, I would look at possibly Sunday night or on Monday for the next podcast. Okay. But if it's major breaking news, we got to come back on the air. I will be right here for you. All right. All right. God bless you guys. And I'll talk to you real soon. I want to go catch up on the news. All right.